What's the first sign of a disease outbreak? I was washing dishes when the water from the tap turned black. Dave, something's wrong with our water. My roommate rushed into the kitchen and stared at the inky liquid swirling down the drain. We'd been living in the apartment for 6 months without any issues. The landlord had mentioned some old pipes, but nothing that should cause this. Turn on the bathroom sink, Dave said. Same thing, black water that smelled faintly metallic. We filled a glass to examine it closer. The liquid was opaque, with an oily sheen on the surface. Neither of us wanted to touch it. I'm calling the landlord. Mr. Kowalski answered on the first ring like he'd been expecting our call. When I described the black water, he went silent for several seconds before saying he'd be right over. His voice sounded different, strained. 20 minutes later, he arrived with a plumber and 2 other men I didn't recognize. They weren't dressed like maintenance workers. Dark suits, serious expressions. One carried a metal briefcase. When exactly did this start? Mr. Kowalski asked. About an hour ago. What's going on? Instead of answering, he led the group to our kitchen. The plumber immediately crawled under the sink while the suited men took water samples. They worked with practiced efficiency, barely speaking. The one with the briefcase kept checking some kind of handheld meter. You boys need to pack some things. Can't stay here tonight. Why? What's in the water? Mr. Kowalski exchanged glances with the suited men. One nodded slightly. Our landlord, who usually treated everything like a minor inconvenience, looked genuinely worried. There's an old industrial site about a mile from here, closed in the 70s. Sometimes the groundwater migrates. Migrates? Dave asked. What kind of industrial site? Chemical plant. They made dyes and pigments. The EPA cleaned it up years ago, but sometimes after heavy rain, things shift underground. We hadn't had rain in 3 weeks. I started to point this out, but one of the suited men interrupted. We need to check your basement. Now. Our building's basement was off limits to tenants. Mr. Kowalski had given us some excuse about insurance liability. He produced a key ring and led us down narrow stairs I'd never noticed before, hidden behind what I'd thought was a utility closet. The basement was larger than I'd expected. Concrete walls sweating moisture, pipes running overhead. The men with meters walked slowly, sweeping their devices back and forth. In the far corner, they found something. Here, the readings are off the charts. Part of the floor had been recently patched with new concrete. The color was slightly different from the surrounding area. One of the men knelt and ran his hand along the seam. This was poured within the last week. Who authorized this? Mr. Kowalski stepped back. I don't know anything about that. I haven't been down here in months. They called for more equipment. Within an hour, our quiet apartment building was swarming with people in hazmat suits. Dave and I were told to wait outside. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, asking questions nobody would answer. A woman in an EPA windbreaker finally approached us. She asked detailed questions about our health, any unusual symptoms, strange smells or sounds. Had we noticed anything odd about other tenants? Anyone moving out suddenly? The couple in 3B left last week, Dave remembered. Middle of the night, didn't say goodbye. The EPA woman made notes. More people arrived. Police, fire department, a news van that was quickly told to leave. They erected a tent over the basement entrance and began bringing out equipment I couldn't identify. Around midnight, they evacuated the entire building. We were taken to a hotel and told not to speak to media. Officials would be in touch. Our clothes were bagged for testing. We had to shower with special soap that burned our skin. 3 days later, an FBI agent named Harrison visited our hotel room. He laid out photographs on the bed, aerial shots of our building, blueprints, chemical formulas I couldn't understand. The previous owner of your building ran an illegal disposal service, helped companies get rid of hazardous waste without proper permits. He died in prison 5 years ago. What does that have to do with our water? Someone's been using your basement to store barrels of industrial waste. Recent storage. We found evidence of multiple deposits over the past 6 months. The latest batch corroded through its container. Harrison showed us more photos. Barrels stacked in a hidden room behind the patched concrete. Dozens of them. Some leaking fluorescent liquids that ate through the floor. Mr. Kowalski claims he knew nothing about it. Says he rarely went to the basement, but someone had access. Someone who knew about the building's history. Are we sick from the water? We're running tests. The good news is you caught it early. The bad news is we don't know what some of these chemicals are. They're not in any industrial database. Dave asked the obvious question. Why would someone make chemicals that don't officially exist? Harrison gathered his photos. That's what we're trying to figure out. But whoever's doing this has access to sophisticated equipment. This isn't some backyard operation. We spent 2 weeks in that hotel. Daily blood tests, investigators coming and going. And what they found in my blood 4 days in led me not just to a hospital, but a full-on research facility in China. Full story on channel link below.